The moon, called Valera 7, was a quiet place. It had tall mountains made of dark crystal. It had valleys filled with silver mist. It had rivers that flowed with liquid metal instead of water. But it did not have many living things. That was why Kong Duan liked it. Du-hun was a scientist from Earth. He was 32 years old, with tired eyes and rough hands. He had been living alone on this moon for 3 months. His job was to study the rocks in the air and write reports about what he found. It was boring work. But Do-won did not mind boring work. He had come to this empty moon because he wanted to be far away from other people. On Earth, Do-won had been a different man. He had worked for a big company. He had worn nice clothes and gone to meetings and smiled at people he did not like. Then one day his mother got sick. He asked for time off to take care of her. The company said no. He went anyway. When he came back, his job was gone. His mother died 6 months later after that. Do-won did not want to be around people anymore. He applied for the loneliest job he could find. A research station on a moon that nobody cared about. The selection board thought he was crazy. They gave him the job. Now he spent his days walking through crystal canyons with a scanner in his hand. He ate alone. He slept alone. He talked to Captain Yuna on the radio once a week. That was enough human contact for him. On the morning of his 93rd day, Do-won decided to explore the northern ravines. His scanner had detected some strange readings there, probably just unusual minerals. But he had nothing better to do. The walk took 4 hours. The ground was rough and covered with sharp rocks that glowed faintly in the dim light. Valera 7 did not have a sun like Earth. Instead, it got its light from the giant gas planet it orbited around. The light was always soft and blue, like early morning that never ended. Do-won reached the ravines by midday. There were deep cuts in the ground like wounds in the flesh of the moon. At the bottom of one ravine, he saw something strange. A waterfall. But instead of water, it was liquid mercury, falling in a silver curtain from a high cliff. Behind the waterfall, there was darkness. A cave. Du-hun stood and looked at it for a long time. His scanner said there was nothing special inside, just rock, but something felt wrong. The scanner should have detected the cave itself, but it showed only solid stone. That meant something was blocking the signal. He should have reported this. He should have called Captain Yuna and asked for instructions. Instead, he walked toward the waterfall. The mercury was cold, but not dangerous. His suit protected him. He pushed through the silver curtain and stepped into the darkness beyond. The cave was bigger than he expected. It went deep into the cliff, twisting and turning like a snake. Do-won turned on his helmet light and walked slowly. One hand on the wall. After 10 minutes, the cave opened into a large chamber, and Do-won stopped breathing. The chamber was not empty. Someone had been living here. There were containers of food stacked against one wall. There was a bed made from soft, shiny fabric. There were pieces of technology that Do-won did not recognize alien technology, far more advanced than anything humans had made. And in the corner, pressed against the wall like a scared animal, there was a girl. She was not human. Her skin was silver blue like the light of this moon. Her eyes were large and purple, filled with fear. She had 4 fingers on each hand instead of 5. Her hair was white and long, falling around her thin shoulders like silk. She was young. Do-won could not tell exactly how old, but she looked like a teenager. And she looked sick. Her skin was pale, even for her kind. Her body was too thin. She had not eaten well for a long time. When she saw Do-won, she made a small sound of terror. She pressed herself harder against the wall, as if she was trying to push through the stone and escape. Du-hun did not move. He did not speak. He just stood there, hands at his sides, trying to look as harmless as possible. The girl was holding something, a small device that showed a glowing image. Do-won could see it was a face-an alien face, stern and cold. The girl looked at the image, then at Do-won, then at the image again. Her purple eyes filled with tears. Du-hun had seen fear before. He had seen it in his mother's eyes when the doctors gave her bad news. He had seen it in his own reflection after he lost everything. But he had never seen fear like this. This girl expected to die. She was waiting for him to kill her. Slowly, very slowly, Doan reached up and removed his helmet. The air in the cave was thin, but breathable. He wanted her to see his face. He wanted her to see that he was not a monster. The girl watched him with wide eyes. She had probably never seen a human before. To her, he must look as strange as she looked to him. Doan reached into his pocket and pulled out a ration bar. It was just emergency food, dry and tasteless, but it was something. He bent down and placed it on the ground between them. Then he stepped back. The girl did not move. She stared at the ration bar like it was a trap. Doan sat down on the cold stone floor. He crossed his legs and put his hands on his knees. He wanted to show her that he was not going to hurt her. He was not going to grab her or chase her. He was just going to sit here. Minutes passed. The girl watched him. Doan watched her back. Finally, hunger won. The girl moved forward, quick like a scared cat, and grabbed the ration bar. She retreated to her corner and tore open the wrapper with shaking hands. She ate so fast that she almost choked. Doan felt something twist in his chest. How long had she been here? How long had she been alone, slowly starving in this dark cave? When she finished eating, the girl looked at him again. The fear in her eyes was still there, but now there was something else too. Confusion, maybe even a tiny bit of hope. Doan pointed at himself. "Dohan," he said. His voice was soft. "My name is Doan." The girl did not understand his words, but she understood what he was doing. She hesitated for a moment. Then she pointed at herself. "Lyra," she whispered. Doan nodded and smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. The first real smile he had made in a very long time. "Hello, Lyra," he said. She did not know what the words meant, but she saw the kindness in his eyes. And for the first time in many weeks, she did not feel completely alone. Outside the cave, the mercury waterfall continued to fall. The blue light of Velera 7 filled the ravine. The universe was vast and cold and did not care about two small creatures hiding in a cave. But in that moment, in that dark chamber, something important had begun. A connection between two lost souls from different worlds. Neither of them knew it yet, but this meeting would change everything. Duhan stayed with Lyra until she fell asleep. Then he walked back through the cave, through the waterfall, and into the blue light outside. He looked up at the stars and thought about what he should do. He should report this. He should tell Captain Yuna that he had found an alien on the moon. But he did not. Not yet. Something told him that if he did, bad things would happen to the scared girl in the cave. So he kept her secret. And he made a promise to himself that he would come back tomorrow with more food. It was a small promise, but it was the beginning of something much bigger. Duhan came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Each time he brought food. Ration bars at first, then canned fruit, then small meals that he cooked himself at the research station. He was not a good cook, but Lyra ate everything he brought. She was so hungry that she did not care about taste. At first she was still afraid of him. She would take the food and retreat to her corner. She would watch him with her big purple eyes, waiting for him to do something bad. But he never did. He just sat on the ground and looked at her with a gentle expression. Sometimes he talked, even though she could not understand him. His voice was soft and calm, like water flowing over stones. After a week, Lyra stopped hiding in the corner. She sat closer to him. Still far enough to run if she needed to, but closer. After 2 weeks, she started to copy his words. "Hello," Doan would say when he arrived. "Hello," Lyra would repeat, her accent strange and musical. "Good morning, good morning." Doan smiled every time she learned a new word. It made Lyra feel warm inside. She had never seen anyone smile at her like that. On her world, smiles were rare. People showed respect with silence and showed anger with violence. Kindness was a weakness that enemies would use against you. But this human was different. He smiled like it was natural. Like being kind was easy for him. One day, Doan noticed the broken device that Lyra always carried. It was small, about the size of his hand. He pointed at it and raised his eyebrows in a question. Lyra hesitated. Then she gave it to him. Doan looked at the device carefully. It was damaged. There was a crack across the screen, and some of the parts inside were loose. But he could see that it was some kind of translator. If he could fix it, they could finally talk to each other properly. He pointed at the device, then at his bag of tools, then at himself. He made a fixing motion with his hands. Lyra understood. She nodded. For the next 3 days, Doan worked on the translator. He had to use parts from his own equipment. Captain Yuna would notice that some things were missing, but Doan did not care. He told her that he had broken some tools during a survey. She believed him. On the 4th day, the translator came back to life. The screen glowed with soft blue light. Lyra held it in her hands and stared at it like it was magic. "Can you understand me now?" Doan asked. The translator made a small sound. Then Lyra's eyes went wide. "Yes," she said. Her voice came through the device in clear words. "I can understand you." Doan let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Good, that is very good." Paused. "Now, will you tell me who you are? And why you are hiding in a cave on an empty moon?" Lyra was silent for a long moment. She looked at the ground. Her hands squeezed the translator so hard that her knuckles turned white. Then she started to talk. Her full name was Princess Lyra of the Veliran Empire. Her father was Emperor Moran, ruler of 17 star systems. She had 3 older brothers and 2 older sisters. She was the youngest child, the one nobody paid attention to. In Veliran culture, royal daughters had one purpose. They were used for political marriages. They were given to other powerful families to make alliances. It was an old tradition, and everyone accepted it. Everyone except Lyra. Lyra had always been different. She asked questions when she should have been quiet. She read books that young princesses were not supposed to read. She learned about other species in the galaxy species that her people called primitive and worthless. But Lyra did not think they were worthless. She thought they were interesting. She wanted to learn about them, to meet them, to understand them. When she was 16, she made a mistake. She spoke at a royal gathering. She said that the Empire was wrong to treat other species like slaves. She said that all living things deserved respect. The room went silent. Her father's face turned cold as ice. After that night, everything changed. Her brothers and sisters stopped talking to her. The servants looked at her with pity. Her father never spoke to her directly again. For 2 years she lived like a ghost in her own home. Then, on her 18th birthday, her father called her to his throne room. He did not yell at her. He did not punish her. He simply told her that she was going on a trip. A ship would take her to a moon called Lara 7. She would stay there for a while, alone. He gave her enough food for 3 months. He gave her a small shelter and some basic technology. He told her that someone would come for her when the time was right. But Lyra knew the truth. No one was coming. Her father had sent her here to die. Not officially. That would cause a scandal. But if she starved to death on an empty moon, it would just be a tragic accident. No one would be blamed. She had been here for almost 2 months when Doan found her. She had been slowly running out of food, slowly losing hope. She had started to accept that she would die alone in the dark, and then a strange creature with soft brown eyes had walked into her cave and offered her food. When Lyra finished her story, she was crying. Silver tears ran down her blue cheeks. She had never told anyone the truth before. She had kept it locked inside her chest, like a heavy stone. Duhan did not say anything for a long time. He just sat there, his face serious and sad. Lyra wondered what he was thinking. Was he angry? Was he disgusted? Would he leave her now that he knew she was nothing but a thrown-away princess? Finally, Doan spoke. "Your father is a monster," he said. His voice was quiet but hard. "No parent should ever do that to their child." Lyra blinked. She had expected many things, but not this. Not anger on her behalf. "He is the Emperor," she said. "He can do whatever he wants." Doan shook his head. "I do not care if he is the Emperor. I do not care if he is a god. What he did was wrong." Lyra did not know how to respond. In her world, power made right. If you were strong enough to do something, then it was not wrong. That was just how things worked. But Doan looked at her like this was obvious. Like any decent person would feel the same way. "What are you going to do now?" Lyra asked. Her voice was small. "Are you going to report me? Tell your people that you found an alien princess?" Dohan thought about this question carefully. He knew that he should report her. It was the right thing to do according to the rules. But rules were not the same as right. "No," he said at last. "I am not going to report you." "Why not?" Doan looked at her with his tired, kind eyes. "Because you have already been abandoned by everyone who should have protected you. I am not going to do the same thing." Lyra stared at him. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "I am going to help you," Doan continued. "I do not know how yet. But I am not going to let you die in this cave. You have my promise." Lyra did not understand this human. She did not understand why he would risk anything for a stranger. Among her people, such behavior was considered foolish, weak, dangerous. But as she looked at Doan's face, she felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt safe. "Thank you," she whispered. Doan smiled his small, real smile. "You are welcome. Now come on. Let me show you how to make tea. It is a human drink. I think you will like it." And for the first time in months, Lyra smiled too. 3 more weeks passed. Spring turned to summer on distant Earth. But on Valera 7, nothing changed. The blue light was always the same. The crystal mountains stood silent and still. And in a cave behind a mercury waterfall, an unlikely friendship grew stronger. Doan taught Lyra about humans. He told her about Earth, with its blue oceans and green forests. He told her about cities full of millions of people, about music and art and sports. He showed her pictures on his personal device. Lyra studied each image with wide, curious eyes. "Your world is so colorful," she said one day. "So loud, so alive. It can be overwhelming," Doan admitted. "That is why I came here. I needed quiet." Lyra tilted her head. "You were running away too?" Doan thought about this. "Yes," he said finally. "I suppose I was." Lyra taught Doan about the Veliran Empire. She told him about the 17 star systems under her father's rule. She told him about the great ships that could cross the galaxy in days. She told him about the politics and the wars and the endless hunger for power. "We are not a kind people," she admitted. "We believe that strength is everything. The strong rule, the weak obey. That is the Veliran way." "That sounds lonely," Doan said. Lyra nodded slowly. "It is very lonely. They spend hours talking every day. Sometimes about serious things, sometimes about nothing at all." Doan discovered that Lyra had a good sense of humor. She laughed at his bad jokes, even when they did not translate well. And Lyra discovered that Doan was much sadder than he seemed. He carried pain deep inside him, hidden behind his gentle smile. They were both broken people, but somehow, being broken together was easier than being broken alone. Then, one morning, everything changed. Duhan was at the research station when his communication device beeped. It was Captain Yuna. Her face appeared on the screen, and Doan immediately knew something was wrong. Her expression was tight and serious. "We have a situation," she said. "A Veliran ship has entered our space." Doan felt his heart go cold. "What do they want?" "They say they want to establish diplomatic relations. They are sending a delegation to inspect all human facilities in this sector, including your research station." "When?" 7 days. Doan's mind raced. A Veliran delegation. On this moon? They would scan everything. They would search everywhere. "And if they found Lyra? Is there anything else I should know?" Captain Yuna asked. Her eyes were sharp. "Anything unusual happening down there?" Doan kept his face calm. He had become good at lying over the past weeks. "No, nothing unusual. Just rocks and air."
Yuna studied him for a moment.
Then she nodded. "All right. Prepare your station for inspection. I will send more details soon." The screen went dark. Doan sat alone in the silence. His hands shaking, He ran to the cave as fast as he could. Lyra knew something was wrong the moment she saw his face. He was breathing hard. His eyes were wide with fear. "What happened?" she asked. Duhan told her about the Velaran delegation. As he spoke, he watched the color drain from Lyra's silver-blue skin. She grew pale, almost white. "They are coming here," she whispered. "My father sent them." "We do not know that for sure," Doan said. "Maybe it is just a coincidence." But Lyra shook her head. "There is no coincidence with my father. He knows you are here. He knows there is a human station on this moon. And he wants to make sure I am dead," her voice broke, "or to finish the job himself." Doan knelt in front of her and took her hands in his. Her skin was cool against his warm palms. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I am not going to let them take you. Do you understand? I made you a promise, and I am going to keep it." "You cannot fight the Empire," Lyra said. Tears were forming in her purple eyes. "You are one human. They have ships and soldiers and technology you cannot imagine. If they find me with you, they will kill you too. They will say you kidnapped me or harmed me. They will use it as an excuse, and we need to make sure they do not find you." Doan had already started planning. His mind was working faster than it had in years. He would create a second hiding place, deeper in the caves. He would program false data into his survey records to show that the northern ravines had already been fully explored. He would create distractions, false trails, anything to keep the Velarans away from Lyra. "This is too dangerous," Lyra said. "You should not risk yourself for me." "Why not?" The question surprised her. "Because I am not worth it. I am a failed princess from a people who would not care if I lived or died. I am nothing." Doan's eyes grew hard. "Do not say that. Do not ever say that, but it is true." "No." Doan's voice was firm. "It is not true. You are not nothing. You are a person who was brave enough to stand up for what was right, even when it cost you everything. That makes you worth more than your whole empire." Lyra stared at him. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever told her she was worth something. "In human culture," Doan continued, "we have a saying. All people are created equal. It does not matter if you are a princess or a farmer. It does not matter what species you are. Every person has value. Every life matters." "That sounds nice," Lyra said quietly. "But it is not how the universe works." "Maybe not," Doan admitted. "But it is how I choose to live. And right now, I am choosing to protect you. Because someone was there for me once, when I had nothing. And I am going to do the same for you." Lyra remembered the image she had seen on his device once. A woman with gray hair and kind eyes, the same shape as Doan's. His mother, the one who had died. "Your mother," she said softly. "She was good to you?" Doan nodded. His eyes grew distant. "She was the best person I ever knew. She taught me that being kind is never weakness. That helping others is what makes us human." He paused. "When she got sick, I gave up everything to be with her. People called me stupid. They said I was throwing my life away, but I do not regret it. Not for 1 second." Lyra felt her heart ache for him. She reached out and touched his face, her cool fingers against his warm cheek. "You are a strange human, Kang Doan," she said. He laughed softly. "I have been told that before. I mean it as a compliment." "I know." They sat together in the quiet cave, holding hands, not speaking. Outside, somewhere far above them, a Velaran ship was getting closer. An Empire's shadow was falling across the moon. In 7 days, everything would change. But for now, in this moment, they had each other. And that was enough. Doan stood up and looked at Lyra with determination in his eyes. "All right," he said. "We have work to do. I am going to show you a deeper part of the caves. I found it during one of my surveys. It is hard to reach, and my scanner could not even see it. You will be safe there." Lyra nodded and rose to her feet. She was still scared, but she was no longer hopeless. Because for the first time in her life, someone was fighting for her. "Doan," she said as they walked toward the back of the cave. "Yes. Thank you. For everything." He looked back at her and smiled. You can thank me after we survive this. Now come on. We have a lot of work to do." Together, they walked into the darkness, preparing to face whatever came next. The Velaran ship arrived on the 7th day exactly as promised. It descended from the dark sky like a blade, silver and sharp against the blue light of the gas giant. Doan watched it land from the window of his research station. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had done everything he could. Lyra was hidden deep in the caves, in a chamber so far underground that no scanner should be able to reach her. He had left her with food, water, and a communication device so she could hear what was happening. He had promised her that everything would be fine. He hoped he could keep that promise. The ship's door opened, and 5 Valerians walked out. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin was dark purple, almost black, and their eyes glowed with pale yellow light. They wore armor that looked like liquid metal, shifting and flowing as they moved. Their leader was a male with a scar across his face. He walked with the confidence of someone who had never been challenged in his life. When he reached Doan, he looked down at the human with cold contempt. "Am Commander Tovin," he said. His translator made his voice sound flat and mechanical. "You are the human scientist stationed here." "Yes," Doan said. He kept his voice calm. "My name is Kong Doan. Welcome to Valera 7. Tovin did not acknowledge the greeting. "We are here to inspect this moon. You will cooperate fully. Any resistance will be treated as an act of aggression against the Valoran Empire." "I understand," Dohan said. "Please, come inside. I will show you everything." The inspection began. Tovin's soldiers went through every room of the research station. They scanned every device, every container, every piece of equipment. They asked questions about Doan's work, his routine, his communications with other humans. Doan answered everything truthfully. He had nothing to hide in the station itself, but he could feel Tovin watching him. The commander's yellow eyes never left Doan's face. He was looking for something. Looking for weakness. Looking for lies. After 3 hours, the station inspection was complete. Tovin seemed frustrated. He had found nothing unusual. "No. We will survey the surrounding area," he announced. "You will accompany us." Doan's stomach tightened. "Of course. Where would you like to go?" Tovin pulled out a device and studied it. "Our long-range scanners detected some interesting readings in the northern ravines. We will start there." Doan kept his face blank. "The northern ravines. I surveyed that area months ago. There is nothing there but rock formations. We'll see for ourselves." They walked for 2 hours across the rough terrain. Dohan led the way, moving slowly, pointing out geological features and explaining his research. He was trying to buy time. Trying to think of something, anything, that could save Lyra. When they reached the Mercury waterfall, Tovin stopped. He stared at the silver curtain with narrowed eyes. "There is a cave behind this," he said. It was not a question. "Yes," Doan admitted. He could not lie about something so obvious. "I explored it during my survey. It goes back about 50 meters and then to dens. I can show you my report." Tovan ignored him. He gestured to one of his soldiers, who pulled out a scanning device. The soldier pointed it at the waterfall and pressed a button. Doan held his breath. The device beeped. The soldier looked at the screen and frowned. "I am getting strange readings," he said. "There is something blocking the scanner. Some kind of interference." Tovin's expression sharpened. "Natural or artificial? I cannot tell." The commander turned to Doan. His yellow eyes were cold as death. "What is in that cave, human?" "Nothing," Doan said. "Just rocks. The interference is probably from the mineral composition. These crystals have unusual properties." Tovin stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned to his soldiers. "Search the cave. Find whatever is inside." The soldiers moved toward the waterfall. Doan's mind raced. He had to do something. He had to stop them. "Wait," he said. Everyone turned to look at him. "I know what you are looking for," Doan said. His voice was steady, even though his heart was pounding. "You are looking for Princess Lyra." The silence that followed was like ice. Tovin's face went completely still. "What did you say?" he whispered. "Princess Lyra of the Velaran Empire, youngest daughter of Emperor Moran. She is here, on this moon, and she is under my protection." Tovin took a step toward Doan. His hand moved to the weapon at his side. "You are harboring a criminal of the Empire," he said. "A traitor who spoke against her own people. Surrender her now, and your species may avoid diplomatic consequences." "She is not a criminal," Doan said. "She is a refugee. Her own father tried to murder her. He left her here to starve to death because she dared to have a conscience." It was a cold, ugly sound. "You know nothing about our laws, human. The Emperor's will is absolute. If he chose to discipline his daughter, that is his right." "Not here," Doan said. "Not on this moon. As of this moment, Princess Lyra has requested asylum from the Human Research Station, and I have granted it." Tovin's laughter died. His eyes narrowed to slits. "Asylum," he repeated. "You are one human. On a moon, we could destroy in minutes. You have no ships, no weapons, no army. What makes you think you can stand against the Velaran Empire?" Doan reached slowly into his pocket and pulled out his communication device. He pressed a button, and Captain Yuna's voice filled the air. "Commander Tovin," she said. Her voice was calm and clear. "This conversation is being broadcast to 47 human installations across 3 star systems. Every word you say is being heard by thousands of people." Tovin went still. "I am Captain Yuna of the Human Colonial Authority," she continued. "Scientist Kong Duhan is acting within his legal rights to grant emergency asylum to any being facing persecution. If you attempt to remove Princess Lyra by force, it will be considered an act of aggression against human territory." "This is ridiculous," Tovin spat. "Your species is nothing. A collection of scattered colonies barely capable of leaving your own solar system. The Empire has existed for 10,000 years. "You are right," Yuna said. "We are small. We are young. We are weak compared to you. But we are also watching. Every human station is watching right now. And if you harm Doan or take Lyra, everyone will know exactly what the Velaran Empire did." She paused. "You can destroy this moon. You can kill Doan, but you will have to explain why. You will have to tell the galaxy that the mighty Velaran Empire murdered a lone scientist to retrieve a princess they tried to starve to death in secret. And then you will have to explain it to us. To Earth, to every human who hears that one of their own was killed for showing basic kindness." Tovin's face twisted with rage, but he did not move. He knew that Yuna was right. The Empire could crush humanity easily in a war. But a war would cost resources, time, attention, and the Emperor did not want attention on this matter. He wanted Lyra to disappear quietly. He wanted her forgotten. If Tovin killed Doan, she would never be forgotten. Her story would spread across the galaxy, and the Emperor would be humiliated. The silence stretched for a long, painful minute. Finally, Tovin lowered his hand from his weapon. His face was like stone. "This is not over," he said quietly. "The Empire does not forget insults. Neither do we," Doan replied. Tovin turned and walked away. His soldiers followed. They did not look back. Doan watched them go until they were small figures in the distance. Then his legs gave out and he sat down hard on the rocky ground. His whole body was shaking. Captain Yuna's voice came through the device. "Doan, are you all right?" "Yes," he managed. "I think so." "That was incredibly stupid," she said, "and incredibly brave. We will talk about it later. For now, get the princess somewhere safe. I am sending a transport ship to pick you both up." "Thank you, Captain." "Do not thank me yet. There's going to be a lot of paperwork." Despite everything, Doan laughed. It was a weak laugh, shaky and breathless. But it was real. He stood up slowly and walked toward the cave. Lyra was waiting for him in the darkness, her eyes wide with fear and hope. "Is it over?" she asked. "Yes," Doan said. "It is over. We won." Lyra ran to him and threw her arms around him. She was crying, her silver tears soaking into his jacket. Doan held her and let her cry. He was crying too, though he did not notice it. They had faced an empire and survived. Not with weapons or armies or power, just with kindness and stubbornness and the refusal to abandon someone in need. It was a small victory. But sometimes small victories were the ones that mattered most. The transport ship arrived 2 days after the Velerons left. It was a small vessel, battered and old, but to Lyra, it looked like the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. It was her way out, her door to a new life. Captain Yuna was waiting for them at the orbital station. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight braid. She looked at Lyra for a long moment, studying her silver-blue skin and purple eyes. "So you are the princess who caused all this trouble," she said. Lyra bowed her head. Among her people, it was a sign of respect and submission. "I am sorry for the problems I have caused. I never meant to put anyone in danger." To her surprise, Yuna laughed. "Do not apologize. It has been years since anything interesting happened around here. Doan was getting too quiet anyway." She looked at Doan with something like affection. Someone needed to wake him up. Doan smiled weakly. "I think I have had enough excitement for a lifetime, Captain." "Too bad, because it is just beginning." The diplomatic situation was complicated. The Veleran Empire officially declared that Princess Lyra had died in an accident on Velaris 7. They expressed no interest in recovering her body. Unofficially, they sent several angry messages demanding her return. The human colonial authority politely ignored all of them. Lyra was taken to a human space station, then to a colony ship, and finally to Earth itself. The journey took 3 months. She spent most of that time with Doan, who had been assigned as her official liaison. He taught her more about human culture, history, and language. She learned fast. Her mind was sharp, and she was hungry for knowledge, but she also struggled. Human society was overwhelming. There were so many people, so much noise, so many colors and sounds and smells. The first time she walked through a crowded marketplace, she had a panic attack. There were too many faces, too many voices. She felt like she was drowning. Duhan found her hiding behind a fruit stand. Her hands pressed over her ears, her eyes squeezed shut. He sat down next to her without saying anything. He just stayed there, a quiet presence, until she calmed down. "I am sorry," she whispered. "I am pathetic." "Oh," he said gently. "You are overwhelmed. That is different, and it is completely normal." He started taking her to quieter places after that. Parks and libraries and beaches where the waves drowned out everything else. Slowly, day by day, she got better. She learned to handle the crowds. She learned to smile at strangers. She learned that most humans were kind, even if they were loud. 6 months after arriving on Earth, Lyra gave her first public speech. It was at a small conference about alien relations. Only about 50 people attended, but for Lyra, it felt like facing the entire galaxy. She talked about her home, about the Empire, about what had happened to her. She talked about Doan and how he had saved her life. She talked about what humanity had taught her. "My people believe that strength is everything," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "We believe that the strong survive and the weak perish. It is the natural order. The only order." She paused and looked at the audience. 50 human faces looked back at her with interest and sympathy. "But humans taught me something different. They showed me that true strength is not about power. It is about choice. The choice to be kind when you could be cruel. The choice to help when you could walk away. The choice to stand up for what is right, even when you are afraid." Her eyes found Doan in the crowd. He was watching her with pride. "One human stood against an empire for me," she continued. "Not because he had to. Not because he would gain anything. But simply because I needed help, and he was there. That is what humanity means to me. Not a species. Not a planet. A way of being. A decision to care about others even when it costs you everything." When she finished, there was silence. Then someone started clapping. Then another person. Then the whole room was applauding. Lyra stood on the stage, tears running down her face, and felt something she had never felt before in her life. She felt like she belonged. Years passed. Lyra became one of the first alien refugees to be granted permanent residency on Earth. She studied human history and philosophy at a university. She wrote books about her experiences. She became an advocate for alien refugees. Speaking at conferences and meetings around the world, she never forgot where she came from. But she also never went back. The Velian Empire continued to ignore her existence. Officially, Princess Lyra was dead. Unofficially, her story spread across the galaxy. Other species heard about the human who had stood up to an empire for a stranger. They heard about the princess who had found a new home among aliens. Some of them started to wonder if maybe humans were worth paying attention to after all. On a warm evening in late summer, Lyra sat with Doan on a hillside overlooking the ocean. They were on Jeju Island, one of the most beautiful places Lyra had ever seen. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. They had become close over the years. Not lovers, though some people assumed they were. Their relationship was something deeper and harder to define. They had seen each other at their worst and their best. They had saved each other in different ways. They were family now, in the truest sense of the word. "I still think about the cave sometimes," Lyra said quietly. "How scared I was. How sure I was that I was going to die." Doan nodded. He was looking at the sunset, but Lyra knew he was listening. "And then you walked in," she continued. "This strange creature with soft eyes and a gentle voice. You gave me food. You sat down and waited for me to trust you." She shook her head slowly. "I still do not understand why." Doan turned to look at her. His eyes were still tired, but there was peace in them now. A peace that had not been there when they first met. "Because you were alone," he said simply. "And I was there. And I could help. That is it. That is the whole reason? That is the whole reason." Lyra was silent for a moment. Then she said, "My people would call that weakness.